ago, and we finished off by talking about how you accepted the job at UDC and they offered you a job on a Wednesday and you accepted, or you had to resign on that Friday to accept the job for Monday because of the accreditation. So we'll go from there. Okay. All right.
So I accepted that job, and so I was dean of College of Education and Humanity College, and I served under 3 presidents.
This is at the University of District of Columbia. Was it called District UDC at the time, or was it Federal College? Or?
Well, it was Federal City College, Washington Technical Institute, and D.C. Teachers. Those 3 universities merged into the University of the District of Columbia.
Okay.
But see, I was already dean College of Education and Humanity College, you see, at Federal City College.
Okay.
And then when they merged the university, I moved up again, you see.
Okay.
And I'm saying this is why I always talking to the young Kappas, you know what I mean, trying to tell them, try to get all the experience and everything you can find, you know what I mean, just do it. Because I have been asked to serve in different committees and chairman of committees, you know, ever since I've been in the Kappa for over 60 years. But I have never refused to take over a chairship of anything that the poll market asked me to do. I mean, I've always done that. And of course, I didn't mind volunteering, you know, for things, you know, to do. You
say you talk to younger Kappas about that. Why do you think that's important?
Why do I think it's important?
Yeah, because you say that you always talk to the younger Kappas about why it's important to, you know, get the different experiences. You know, tell us why you think that's important. If
the reason I think that's important is because that's what Kappa is all about. I mean, the older persons, I mean, like me, we're going to have to move on. And the younger brothers are going to have to take over. And so as much experience that we can give to them and to work with the younger brothers, to me, that's my job. That's what I have been doing ever since I've been a Kappa. Especially, I mean, for 50 years and up. Is trying to push the younger brothers and so they can get in position. In other words, if they get the experience and the background in these various positions, because I've held every position you can hold in Kappa. I mean, I've been poll marks, I've been vice polls, I've been a keeper of records, I've been exchequer, I've been all of them. And I worked on just about every committee, I mean, that you can mention, you know, and I've worked in Kappa. And I'm telling the young brothers, you know, they need to volunteer and get as much experience and background as you can so that one day, when these positions come up, you know, you can be able to apply for them, and they will look at your background or look at your experience and see what have you done before, because that's what it's all about. That's what it's all about. If you get credentials on a brother that has already been with Kappa, let's say, for 2 or 3 years, and he has worked on 4 or 5 committees, he's chaired 2 or 3 committees, he is financial, and he's done all these other things, you know, financial with the chapter, financial with province, and financial with grand chapter. Now you put him up against the other brothers who just came and just making a meeting every now and then. Who do you think they would choose? They're going to always get that brother you see with the experience. So that's why I tell the little brothers, you know, look, volunteer for it. If they don't and they ask for volunteers, go ahead and volunteer and work with it, because that experience is good, and it also help you grow. Even for your civilian jobs outside when you apply for them, because that's part of your resume for positions that you've held, and it moves up, and that's what happened to me. You see, that's probably why I got that job. You know, when you look at all those candidates, I mean, they had in there 72, and then they're gonna choose me out of those. You know, the number 1, they break it to 3. If I hadn't had all this stuff in my background and the data right there, I can tell you for sure I never would have gotten those positions. You know, so that's why I say to me it's very important that they get that background data. Everything you can learn about it.
Right. What do you? This is a question we asked of possibly of MOIP candidates when they're trying to get into Kappa. But now that you've been in the Kappa for 60 years, what do you think is the challenge for Kappa today?
What do I think is what?
The greatest challenge for Kappa Alpha Psi today, facing Kappa Alpha Psi.
What I think is the greatest
challenge. You know,
challenge.
The challenge.
Greatest challenge
facing Kappa Alpha Psi.
Well, the greatest challenge that I see in Kappa Alpha Psi right now would be trying to get together as one. In other words, every chapter, as far as can see in Kappa should be working toward the same goals. Goals are normally set, at Grand Chapter headquarters. And when they set those goals up there, I think that every chapter that's under the Grand Chapter, which is all the Kappas, in the United States, they need to go ahead and try to sit some of their programs around whatever they have requested at Grand Chapter. Grand Chapter going to send a request down to province, and the province going to send it down to the chapters. And to me, they need to fulfill those goals so that it could be just like Kappa 1. Not something over here doing on this one, and another one doing something else over here. All should be working toward the same goal, toward the same end. And to me, I think that's a great challenge. That's hard to do, because you have members from all parts of life, that's coming in. People with different experiences and backgrounds, that's coming in. And when they move into these positions, they have their own ideas about what they want to do and what they think is best. But it's not always the best thing to do than what they think. That's why I say they got to have some goal. They have to have something, to look forward to. So that's why I say always have a goal. And whatever that goal is, you work toward accomplishing that. And if you don't get it the first time you go around, have 2 or 3 different plans. Plan number 1 doesn't work, then you move to number 2, and number 2 becomes number 1, and then you come up with another 2. And it's just like climbing a ladder. That's the way you do it. And I think that's a great challenge, is to try to get the oneness, the oneness, to be one of whatever it is.
One Kappa.
One Kappa.
One Kappa.
To me, that's what that's a great chapter. It's one Kappa. Because like I say, if you look around with all the chapters in province, and not all those throughout the Kappa itself, do you know that would be difficult? You see, everyone that's in there, they made up of different, the different members, like I say, got different backgrounds and all. And it's kind of hard for all of them to try to come up and to be just one Kappa.
Right. Let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
What do you think the challenge for our local chapter, the Bowie Mitchellville Alumni Chapter, is? The same question. Now, first I asked a broader question about Kappa Alpha Psi in general, but what about Bowie Mitchellville Chapter in particular? What do you think its greatest challenge is?
Yeah, well, for our chapter, I think that the pole mark is the one that sets the stage, for the chapter. And I think that one of the things, that he should do, if he hadn't already done it, is that every member in the fraternity needs to be, and I've told him this, needs to be on some committee. I don't care who it is, if he just been in for one day joining us, or if he's just coming in and just coming off a line. Every brother in there should be on some committee. You just have to do that. And also, all of the senior brothers, they should get together and treat themselves sort of like you might say, a little fraternity within the fraternity. In other words, why not have a meeting themselves, and make recommendations to the pole mark. In other words, the senior brothers can look and see what's going over. They should have their little meetings, and whatever recommendations they have, they could give them then to the pole mark, and then the pole mark, could bring them up to the board or whatever they want to do. And some may be good, some may be bad, but the only way you can do it is get the feeling of those brothers, because they've had anywhere from 50 to 60 or 70 years of service. And if they've had all this time in there, they must have some good ideas about doing something. So to me, if it were me, I would just make them a committee. I'd make me a committee of all the senior Kappas.
So something like the Senior Kappa Committee now, but a more active Senior Kappa
That's
committee.
right. Have to be more active. I want them to meet once a month. They can meet at each other's house if they want to. They don't have to go, down to the school or whatever it is like that. Just round robin it,